Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to do an install with your new USB. This is pretty much the exact thing you should have received. This particular laptop I'm going to be showing it to you on does not have USB-C, but if my camera would focus here, it will show you. The USB-C is just simply on this end, okay? And then USB, which is what we're going to be using, is on this end. All right, so first I'm just going to show you the system I'm going to be working on. So this is actually a 2015 MacBook Pro Retina display. The unit works just fine except for the battery. I'll show you. The battery just comes up with a, let me get my mouse right here. Battery just comes up with the service recommended. There is a good chance that at some point in this install I'm probably gonna have to plug it in. But right now we're at 94%, so it should be fine for a few minutes. So the first thing you're gonna do, whether you are running it with an install like this, and by the way, this install actually works fine, but I'm gonna redo it just to show you. With that said, first thing you're going to do is, if you have it on like I do, you're going to want to just turn it off. Okay, you're not going to want to do restart. You want to turn it off. If you have this option here, it should not be checked. It will be checked by default. Always recommend not to do that because it takes a long time to boot up, and there's no reason to reopen every app on every startup. So, first thing to do is shut down. It won't take very long. While it's doing that, get your USB stick ready. And again, you may be using the USB-C. The process should be the same for the USB-C. So pretty much it's going to be the same. It's just, you're going to be using a different port. Okay. So make sure that your USB is plugged in. It doesn't really matter if you have USB ports on the other side. It should work pretty much just the same. Okay, and this, I will also add, should work for MacBooks ranging from 2007 Intel-based A1181 models all the way to 2023 models. As far as I know, it's early 2024 right now, so don't know about 2024 models, but 2023 models, it should work just fine. As we go along, I'm going to tell you guys about some common problems, because there will be a little bit of downtime while this boots up. So we'll get to that in a minute. But regardless, when this is off, and it is totally off, you can press that, nothing's going to happen. It's off. Hold down the power button just like you normally would. Do not long hold it. Just press it just like you normally would. Okay. So when that does that, and you may have this problem, and I'm actually glad this did it. You may get to a point where you see the Apple logo. You may need to restart it. But what you're going to want to do is hold down options, or option key. That might have been a little quick. Actually, that's the quickest I've ever actually seen it do that. So I'm actually going to turn it off the wrong way, by the way, by holding the power button. But I'm going to do it just to show you. So generally what you're going to want to do is you got two option keys, generally speaking. You've got one on the right of the keyboard, which is here, and you got one on the left of the keyboard, which is right here. That's the key you're looking for. So you're going to want to locate that key, and then you're going to want to press the power button once and hold down the option key. You don't need to do each key. You just need to pick one. Maybe your key doesn't work and you only can use one of them, but generally both should work. When you do that, you're going to see this populate. It will take a couple of minutes. Well, maybe not even a couple minutes, maybe a few seconds to populate. You do need to figure out which one you want to use prior to getting to this step. I never recommend using the latest OS possible. So if your MacBook, iMac, Mac Pro, whatever you're using, let's just say the highest that will support, that will say it this way, the newest OS that yours will support is, let's say, OS X El Capitan. Okay, this one right here where my mouse is. I would not recommend using that because it will run slow. It's going to be really choppy. Even if you have an SSD, it's not really worth it. So I recommend the one prior again, if we're saying El Capitan is the highest we could go on this one, and it's not, by the way, on this particular model, but hypothetically, if your system, the highest you can go is El Capitan, I would recommend just going back one here. You can go back further, but I would recommend using Yosemite, or maybe even back further if you want. But again, the latest OS is not always the best idea. Okay, if you have maxed out specs on your system, maybe. But generally, most people don't have that. So in this case, this is updatable to, I think, all the way up to Ventura. This particular one, I use this one because it's a little more versatile, and not only that, but it's kind of like a test unit for me. So in this case, just for video sake, I'm going to use Monterey because we had Monterey on there already. It's actually on there now, and you saw it running with that. So we're going to click on it just like so. Just click on the logo, and then you're going to press the arrow, or you could press the enter key on your keyboard. Since we're already on the mouse, though, I'm just going to take my mouse and single click on that arrow. Now this is where the waiting comes in. This is where people run into problems. Oh, it's taking a long time. I think it froze. Probably not. It could freeze here, but if there's hardware issues, it could. But it's generally not here where it's going to freeze, although it could. If you have some of the older MacBooks, like the 2012s and such, you might have a gray background. These ones you have a black background. It has to do with what firmware and things like that your MacBook are running. Yours may look slightly different. All that in mind. So it may not look exactly like this, but you should have, like a logo or a loading bar. You might have a mouse. Your screen might flash. Might do all kinds of different things. But eventually, again, all the OSs look different. So if you're using, El Capitan or something, this might look slightly different. I can't show you for all 14 because that'd be a very long video. But you might be able to pull up like an install for your specific OS if you want on YouTube. But they all are generally done the same. Things just might be in a slightly different location. So we are here, and what we're going to do is, yes, I see disk utility there. You can access it that way, but some of the OSs don't have that. So it's best just to go up here, up to the top. You're looking for utilities, which in this case is right here. And actually this one doesn't have it. But generally, usually they do. They might have done some sort of an update. But, you could go to utilities there if you don't have it here. And you see disk utility. That's what you're looking for. Disk utility, which happens to be right there. So we're going to navigate to that. We're going to click on it. And then we're going to click continue. Now this is where you're going to go. Okay. Now here, very important, you see internal. That says internal up there where my mouse is. And then external. External is your USB. You don't want to do anything with that. Okay. You want to click here, in this case, and you're going to see something like this. Okay. Again, this is like, my old faithful laptop. I use this thing just kind of to mess around and test the OSs, and it just always runs. So it's going to look a little different. There's really nothing on this except for the OS at the moment. So it might look a little different, but you should see this. Okay. Again, you're looking for internal because you're formatting an internal hard drive. So make sure you're doing internal when you do this. Important. So you're going to highlight internal. You should see it like that. And then you're going to navigate over here to erase. Okay. All of your data is gone when you do this. All of your data will be gone. Okay. So please know that it will be gone when you do this. But this is how you do a fresh install. Okay, it is the best way to do this. So make sure that everything is backed up, because once you've done this, it's done. So Again, making sure all your data is backed up, making sure there's nothing on this hard drive you need. You're going to hit erase. And then when you do that, you can name it whatever you want. I'm just leaving OS X because that's what I have it. So you don't need to change this. Okay. Yours might say Mac OS X journaled or Mac OS journaled. Generally, the first one you see, whatever pops up, is what you want. But generally, Mac OS X journaled is an older version. There might be some newer versions depending on different types of hard drives. But this is a PCIe, looks like a long Wi-Fi card, if you will. So this is a little bit of a newer version compared to the old 2.5-inch SSDs. So anyway, so they might look a little different, but you're looking for this. Okay. Again, make sure all your data is backed up. You will lose it when you do this. All right. So assuming all that's done, you're going to hit erase. It's going to do this. This could take a few seconds. Don't rush it. Don't click around. Just let it do its thing. All right. Okay. That's done. Now, when that's done, what you're going to do, again, you see there's two. I will tell you guys, honestly, I don't understand why it does this. I'll be honest, I'm not a hard drive expert. I don't know why it does this. Sometimes it'll create a second one, but it's not mounted and there's nothing there. Okay. 0 kilobytes available. But if you go to the next one, that's the one you want. Now, that one's the only one that's going to show up when we do the OS install, but I just didn't want you to look over there and say, oh, there's two now. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sometimes they do that, sometimes they don't, so yours may not. Regardless, okay, you're going to exit out of this utility. You're done. And then what you're going to want to do is go into install Mac OS Monterey. Hit continue. All right, continue. It's pretty straightforward from here, guys, to be honest. Again, I clicked a couple times. Just give it a sec to catch up. It is not the fastest thing in the world. Even if your Mac is a faster MacBook, this can take time, so be patient. So, yeah, we agree. Okay. Now, here's what you're going to see. As I said, only one's going to show up when you do this, even though it's showing you 2 in disk utility. This is the one you want. It's the one you just formatted. Now, the thing is, I've seen and I've heard of people not doing this utility step and trying to come in here and just click on this and click on it and then come over here and hit continue down here and it not working. Yes, that won't work. Generally speaking, that won't work. Okay, you get an error. So, anyway, so you're going to highlight this, leave the OSs over here alone. There, it's just populating any available disk on the PC, or excuse me, on the MacBook. Whether it's external or internal, it's populating them all. So we don't need to worry about any of those. We just need this guy here, which is the hard drive we just formatted. You can tell because it's got the same name, it's OS X, but it's also 120.99 gigabytes total and 119.79 available. So it won't be the exact same number because it has to have some for key functionalities, but nevertheless, you're going to hit continue. And then it's going to tell you your computer's not connected to power source. Okay, yeah, I recommend you do that. Please do that. But in my case, I'm not going to because, this is not my main machine. So if something happens to it, it's not a big deal. I have extra hard drives anyway. So let this thing do its thing. It will take a few minutes. Seriously, this is 18 minutes there. It may not take that long. It might take a few minutes longer. Just let it do its thing. If your computer goes to sleep, like if the screen goes off, just move your mouse a little bit. It may or may not do that. Okay, so it may or may not do that. You can even just click the mouse like nothing's going to happen. Unless you click cancel. Don't do that. But if you're anywhere in here, just click the mouse. You don't really want it to fall asleep because sometimes when these fall asleep, it will disconnect power from the USB ports and make it so that it can't read the USB, which is what it needs to do. So make sure that you are not letting it go into sleep mode if you can. So a couple things. I'm not going to keep this video on the whole time because this will take some time. But I do want to mention a few things. You could get some errors here. I will say I've had some, not really these newer like 2015 systems, but like the 2010, 2012 systems. I've had some that will give you an error, okay? And I don't remember what that error is off the top of my head. If I can find it and I remember it, I'll insert it here. If not, research your error. Google your error code that you get. But I will say one of the most common ones that I've seen is systems that have been sitting around for a while. And you think, hey, look, my kid needs a laptop. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repurpose this, 12, 14-year-old MacBook. Great idea. The problem is that it's been sitting. So what happens is the battery usually completely drains, been completely drained for a long time. And when that happens, guess what? The CMOS battery inside, these newer ones don't have CMOS batteries, but those older ones do. What happens is that keeps the time and they go bad, just like regular batteries do. And guess what? The computer loses time. So there's a way to go into terminal, which was in that utilities menu that we pulled up just a few minutes ago. There's a way to go into terminal and change it. Okay. So generally that's a very common one I ran into it a lot myself. I really haven't gotten any other ones that I couldn't really figure out. You'll see the screen just dim there, and that's because it's not connected to power. But you get some other weird codes sometimes. Sometimes you could get a kernel panic. I'll insert what that looks like here. Kernel panics are generally not due to USBs. Very, very, very rarely. Sometimes if it's drawing a lot of power, which means that it's the logic board, generally it means that it's pulling a lot of power or something and you may have a short in it, but generally speaking, it's usually because of RAM inside of these or hard drives. Now this one here has a removable hard drive, but a lot of them newer ones do not. The RAM on this is not removable. So if it's the RAM, there are people out there that are smarter than myself who can change onboard RAM, but it's very, very difficult. And generally, it just means you need a new motherboard. There's other kinds like weird system errors that I don't know about, I've never seen, but generally, if you're getting an error here, it is generally a system problem. If you've used this USB a lot, and I mean a lot, and you've had it for a while, it generally could mean, the USB has gone bad, but these USBs are pretty good. I only use SanDisk, and I use these because I use these myself, honestly, and I've used them for a while and they work good. So the USB quality is there. They're not just some no-name knockoff brand that, doesn't stand by their product. And, these are legit. These are not knockoffs. So, generally they're pretty good quality. But every once in a while, you run across one that doesn't last as long as it should. But that's not going to happen for a while. If you're just a regular person using this on your system every once in a while, these USBs will probably outlive your need for them. So, but anyway, with that said, I'm going to let this go. There's one more thing I do want to mention. MacBook quality-wise, which MacBooks seem to give the worst problem for installing the OS. Okay, so here we go. The 12-inch MacBooks from 2015 or so. They were notorious for having issues. I've worked on several of them, and to be honest, I've never gotten one to really work. There's always something wrong with it. This is a 2015, as I said, which would be about the same age as those, and I would rather use this over that by leaps and bounds. It's just a better product. They're not as flimsy as these. Those 12 inches are very, very, very flimsy. These are not. So if you have a 12-inch MacBook and you're getting issues, I'm sorry. One thing on this too, if you do have a newer one, they are capable of being iCloud locked. And basically what will happen when you have an iCloud lock, and this is going to restart here, I think. Yeah. So just leave it alone. You don't have to do anything to it. You'll know when you have to do something to it. It's not right now. But your screen could change and it'll do this. So it's totally normal. Don't worry about it. You're going to get an estimated time pop up any second now. But anyway, as I was saying, the iCloud locks and things like that, your MacBook may come up. It will only boot in recovery mode. This is not going to fix that. That is generally a logic board problem, could also be an iCloud problem. So this will not bypass iCloud locks. It will not. It cannot. It's just, that's not what this is. So what this is, you have a system where the hard drive, maybe you need to swap it out, or maybe you've had it for a while and you just need basically a fresh install. Or maybe you're running an OS that's really old and your MacBook is capable of handling better. I think these came with Catalina. I'm not 100% sure on that. But actually, I've tested this, and this runs Monterey just fine. I believe it can run Big Sur, I think. Pretty sure I've had a few of these with that on there. I can't swear to it. But I've ran it with Monterey, and it works fine. So that's another thing. If you want to try like the newest one, and something happens, it doesn't work, or maybe it's just slow, you can always redo the process with the next older OS and keep trying it. That's the nice thing about having all these on one. But again, I just want to make that clear that this is not going to fix a hardware issue. It's not going to fix an iCloud lock. It's not going to fix, one of those more serious issues. What this is basically just a factory reset on a device that the hardware is working. So again, this hard drive in this MacBook is fine. The MacBook itself is fine. Everything works as intended. And as a matter of fact, I wouldn't even be doing this if I wasn't demonstrating it, because I just did this the other day to update it and actually to test another USB. So, to make sure that it works. But I'm actually going to be sending this to somebody. This particular USB stick here, I'm sending to someone who is having some issues with one that I do believe is a hardware issue, but I'm going to try it anyway. So anyway, before I'm going to actually end this video, because this is saying 27 minutes, and it would be impossible for me to sit here and talk about everything that could possibly happen in this install and these setups. But I think the biggest things I've covered. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop this here, and then I will rejoin you when we are at the next step. And that sound means we have arrived, and it is done. Now, I don't know exactly how long it took, maybe like 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. But every OS is going to look slightly different depending on which one you chose. At this point, you could technically take out the USB, but I leave it in. So it's not going to hurt anything. So you're just basically going to go through, you're going to hit continue. You're going to hit not now. I'm going to go ahead and put in my Wi-Fi information. Putting in your Wi-Fi information and connecting to your network may take a second. Don't worry. Throughout that whole setup process prior, again, you're going to get restarts, screen flashes. It's all normal. Don't worry about it. Let it go. So here, only options to continue. We are not backing up from anything, so not now. Not putting an iCloud, save for later. Skip, agree. Yeah. Here, you can put whatever you want for your name. I'm just going to put user and then my password. You can make that whatever you want. And then I'm just going to hit continue. All this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but I want to show you anyway. Just so you know, everybody's on the same page, because we are in the home stretch now. You know, with this, it won't take much longer. So once you hit continue there again, it takes a second. Don't rush it. You know, don't go typing anything. Don't go trying to hit cancel or anything. Just let it go. We don't need location services, so we're going to hit continue. No, we're not going to use those. You can put the time zone, your time zone, obviously. Doesn't really matter. I'll leave it on California. That's fine. We won't share anything with Apple. Continue. Set all that up later. You can do it now if you want. I'm not using Siri on this, so continue. This total preference, I like the dark theme. No, I like that better. A little easier on my eyes. So we're gonna hit continue, and then again, you'll see that little pinwheel down there. It just takes a second. So now we are in the OS. Congratulations, you have installed it. That process may look different depending on the OS, but it all should be about the same. Some you can't skip, you know, putting in a password. Some you can. It just depends on what OS you're using. But it's all relatively the same. And really at that point, that last point we just filmed, I mean, honestly, it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, technically, you could go here to Finder, and you could just eject all these. I'm not going to do that. I am just simply going to shut it down. Now, as I said in the beginning of the video, that little box is checked for, you know, by default. I'm not doing that. Shutting down, and it will shut down. And you are done. You can use your MacBook, put your apps on it you want, and you are good to go. I will say I do like to give it time. So leave it on, let it do updates, all that stuff. Just give it a little bit of time, but feel free to use it as you would. Thank you for watching.